Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be filming another planting video. I thought it would be fun to show you guys my moss pole collection. So all the plants that I have on moss poles, and while I show them to you, I have some maintenance that I need to do on them. I don't think anything needs an extension, maybe one that I'm gonna do, but we'll see when we get to that plant. But I think most things just need a fill up on some moss because I don't usually fill it all the way up until the plant gets to that point. And maybe some like strap-ons. They need to be reharnessed to the moss pole because they've grown a little bit. So I'm gonna do that today because I am starting a new job on Monday, which is tomorrow, and I wanna have everything kind of situated so I can like fall into place again. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a little bit of our moss, and sorry about my appearance. I just got home from the gym. If you can hear my dog panting in the background, it's because I just got home and he's excited. He'll probably calm down here in a minute. So I just have a little bit of leftover moss in this, and I'm gonna dump it in here. And then I have a little bit more moss in my little bin over here that I'm going to grab. So I just used the Better Grow moss. I actually really like it. It's decent moss for the price. So I'm gonna tear off a chunk. I don't wanna mix up too much because I don't like to have any like leftovers. So I kind of mix it up as I go. I'm just putting it in one of the bins that I use for propagating. And I have my little watering can that I am going to rehydrate. So I recently got into moss poles probably a little less than a year ago, maybe going on a year. I finally got on the moss pole train. And I know a lot of people are jumping off that train now, but I'm kind of still into it. I really like how my plants grow on them. They do quite well. I'm wanting to get another cabinet that's taller so I can like put the taller ones in there and keep them going a little bit longer. Moss poles don't have to be in a cabinet, but I really like them in the cabinet for the purposes of the humidity. It keeps the moss moist longer. And yeah, the upkeep with moss poles is a little bit more difficult because you have to water them a lot more often, but when they're in a cabinet, it's not as bad. So I'm literally just hydrating my moss as I speak to you guys. But I have quite a few moss poles going on right now. Some of them don't need any care, or I'm not gonna give them the care that they need right now because they need like serious care, but I'll still show them to you because I want to show you guys my collection. I know in my houseplant tour, I kind of just like, these are my moss poles, and I didn't really show you what's going on with them. But now that I have to take them all out of the cabinet and make sure that they're good to go, I figured it would be a great time to show you the plants. So we will do that. Once I have this moss hydrated, I feel like that's good. It can sit there and soak for a little bit. And then the other thing that I want to make sure I have is some plant Velcro. This is my little bin of goodies. I know you guys can't see it in the frame, but I'm going to make sure I have plant Velcro so I can attach everything that needs to be attached. I just like to use that, so I have that. And I don't think I'm going to need anything else out of this bin, so we are going to slide it back out of the way. And I'm just in my kitchen. I do everything on my kitchen floor, and then I just vacuum up later. So welcome to my kitchen if you haven't been here before. And I think we're ready to go. Like I said, I don't think I have any extensions I need to do, but if I do, I have a bunch of my moss poles here. I just get these off of Etsy. I'm not gonna actually link it down below because she changed her moss poles and I don't like the new ones. These were the old ones. They were a little bit thinner and easier to fold, and these are the new ones, and they're quite thick and really difficult to fold, and I'm not a fan at all. So I don't have any moss poles that I'm loving at the moment. I really liked these ones, but her updated ones, not my favorite. So I'm not gonna link them because I do not recommend them at all. So if you had questions about moss poles, I do just get mine off of Etsy. I am trying to design like a 3D printed one that would work well, but that's gonna take a while. So without further ado, let me go ahead and grab my first moss pole. I'm gonna go into my bathroom. If you guys remember, I have a plant cabinet in there. I have my red stuff, and it has all kinds of moss poles on the bottom. So we're gonna start there. Okay, so aside from my dogs panting, you may hear some rain. It just started pouring down raining. We have some storms in the work this afternoon, so bear with me here. But I pulled all of my moss poles out of that cabinet, and not a lot of them need a lot right now. But like I said, I still want to show them to you guys and just go over a little bit of the care. So my first plant does need a little TLC here. I actually don't think any of these need any water, so pat on the back for me for that. They are good to go. These all live in my Redsta cabinet, like I said. This is the tallest one I have in there, and she is going to outgrow it if I have to do another extension. So that's why I'm hoping to get another cabinet soon within the next few months or so. I want to get the Mills bow and I want to put it in my living room. So do I need 4 cabinets? Yes, I do. So if you guys are wondering, this is my Philodendron Glorious, I believe. Yeah, the Philodendron Glorious. I don't know what it's a mix of because I don't know my philodendrons that well, but here is the latest leaf she gave me. She is working on putting out another leaf up here, if you can tell. So I'm excited. It's gonna be a big one, but as you can see, she is past the moss. So I just need to fill her up with some moss and give her another little strap so she stays on. But here she is. I keep all of my plants pretty much right now in these nursery pots, and then I go to the Goodwill and I thrift glass little trays just to be cute. But yeah, that's how I do all my plants. So I'm gonna give her a little bit more moss. She's one of the only ones in the cabinet that's gonna need a little bit of moss. But like I said, I wanted to show you guys what I'm working with since I have to take them all out and just check on them and make sure they're all good to go. But like I said, I don't think any of them need any water. Maybe like in the pots, but not the moss. So all I do is I just fill them up. I stick it in the top. I do have a bamboo stick, not a bamboo stick, I have a chopstick that I'm going to grab. I highly recommend having like some sort of stick to push your moss down if you want to do your moss pulls like this. I don't personally like to just fill them all the way up with moss from the get-go because I don't want to be watering that much moss if I don't need to. So I just fill it up as I go. I'm probably going to fill this one all the way up to the top, aside from the part that I'll need to add the extension to it. So as you can tell, when I did the last extension, I had to use the new moss pole. These are diamonds and these are hexagons. The poles that she changed to, they still fit, but they're just really hard. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. They are really hard to fold. So that's my biggest dilemma with them. They're really thick, and the way she has the lines to fold them on, it's too difficult to fold them. So I don't recommend those moss poles. Look for something that has, honestly, the front snap ones are probably the way to go now. I wish I would have known about those before I started all these. Eventually I'll probably change it up and go to something like that. I do, like I said, really like moss poles, and I do personally think that they're worth it. That might change eventually. You know, I went through a period when I wasn't really wanting to care for my plants as much, so moss poles were difficult, but if I just watered them, and since I kept them in my cabinet, it honestly wasn't too bad. I have since transitioned a few of them out of my cabinet, which we'll show you in a little bit, but they're still doing relatively well, so I have no complaints with that, and I just think they're fun, and I like how big and quickly the plants grow. So as you can tell, it started off with really tiny leaves down there, and it's already getting quite big. It's like the size of my hand. So I personally really like the moss pole thing. So we're just filling her up. It takes a little bit of time. It does take a little bit of moss. Hopefully I have enough, but like I said, not a lot of these ones need extra moss. I might top some of them off just to be safe, because like I said, I am starting a new job tomorrow. It is a full-time 40-hour job. I'm going back to the banking world, but doing something completely different, and I'm really stressed and nervous about it. But it is a contracted temporary job that's only going through August at this point, but they said it could get extended. I'm just covering somebody's maternity leave. So yeah, it's definitely a big girl job, and I'm nervous. I think I can do it. I know I can do it. I mean, I'm not the most confident person in myself, but I do know I usually end up being able to figure everything out. But it's a really great opportunity that's going to open a lot of doors for me. The pay is something I never envisioned myself ever making in my whole life. So I couldn't pass it up, and you know, temporary work can lead to so many other things within the company because it is a very large company in my area. So I am hopeful. I am nervous to start tomorrow. I haven't worked probably for the last 6 weeks. Well, I did a part-time job just to have some income, and then, you know, I worked on my side hustle doing the plant expo and making some YouTube videos for you guys. So I am definitely ready to go back to work and get onto a schedule. It is 40 hours, 8 to 5, which is what I need. I need something that is consistent because it helps my anxiety and depression like no other. So it'll be good. It's just getting started into something new will be very interesting, especially since it's something I've never really even heard of that banks do. So the position I'm going to be doing is called corporate trust admin. So I'll be a corporate trust admin. It's working with corporations for trust stuff, and she explained it to me, but I don't know how to explain it to you guys because I haven't done the job yet, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But basically, it's going to be a lot different than what I used to do at the bank, which was work in fraud, and I'm excited. I'm excited to learn something new. It can open so many more opportunities for me and be a really good resume builder. And I think it's gonna be good in the end, but I just need to get through this first week to get a little confident in myself because I am super nervous. I'm really thrilled that something came so fast for me, and although it's only temporary, I think that it's going to lead to other possibilities soon enough. So yeah, I just have a little bit of moss left in here, and we're basically at the top of the pole. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the rest of the moss in there. It should still leave enough room to extend the pole later on, because I probably will do 1 or 2 more extensions on this guy. I wanted to see how big it can get. I just really want tall moss poles. Yeah, so there we go. She is all the way filled up with moss to the tippy top. I'm so sorry that you probably can't see. Let me move you guys back actually. Okay, we moved you back a little bit more. Ignore my clean dishes up there. But there we go. She probably could use a little water in her base, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, water her in a little bit more. Do you guys like moss poles and have a bunch of them? And if so, what moss poles do you use? Leave me a comment down below because, like I said, I am in the market for new moss poles. Once I have to start cutting some of these plants, that's probably when I'll do the transition to new moss poles, if I find ones that I think I'll like. But other than that, I'm probably just going to keep using these for now and ordering them if I have to. So the next thing I need to do for Miss Glorious here is I need to strap her on again, just to make sure that she grows into the moss where she needs to. I have a couple of other places where I've strapped her on, and this is just to make sure that she's good to go. She knows where she's going and what she's doing and where I need her to be. So we're just gonna cut our Velcro, and you put the fuzzy side against the plant so it doesn't harm it. And I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit of pressure on it to wrap her to the pole. And there we go. There is the Philodendron Glorious, all not extended. I didn't extend her, but I added some more moss. So she has a couple more leaves before she's gonna need an extension, luckily, because like I said, I really want to be able to transition her into another cabinet eventually. So yeah, I need to get that cabinet first before I can do that. And I am gonna go ahead and stick her back in her place in her cabinet. Okay, so I actually am already out of moss that I made. So I'm gonna go ahead and honestly, I'm gonna make the rest of this moss. I'm probably gonna need it. If not, I'll store it in that bag that I had at the beginning. But I don't have a whole lot left in this Better Grow bag. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make the rest of it. I think I have some other plants that need it. If not, I'll definitely use it at some point this season. So better to just go ahead and get it out of this little bag and thrown away. So there's that. I'm gonna go ahead and water this in. I'm looking around at the other moss poles that I have, and I just see one, maybe, yeah, I think there's just one over here that needs a little bit more moss, maybe 2, we will see. I just use regular tap water for all of my plants, and then I'll add a little bit of fertilizer whenever I remember. And I use fish fertilizer, which smells really bad, and my dog really enjoys it, and he tries to eat the soil. So once I use that up, I don't know if I'll continue using it. I do think I like it though. I just can't have my dog eating the soil and having to watch him. So that's my only downside to that. But usually I just use tap water, and I don't always remember to fertilize. And then I will put mosquito bits in the water when I remember. I'll like make a couple of jugs of it, and then I'll just leave it sit until I need it, and then I'll fill up my watering can with those jugs of the mosquito bits to keep fungus gnats at bay. So I am almost done rehydrating this moss. Okay, my moss is rehydrated. I'm gonna stick it to the side, and we're just gonna roll through these next plants. So this one is my Philodendron domesticum. She's got really good variegation. She was a baby when I got her. I think she might have actually been a tissue culture that I got from a local lady, and she is working on a new leaf here, and I think she's totally fine. There's plenty of moss in this pole, and I don't think she needs a new strap just yet because, as you can tell, it has very like small internodal spacing. Like these nodes are super close together, but she has beautiful variegation. Really love her. So I think she's totally fine. We're gonna stick her to the side. Okay, we ran out of storage and we fixed it. So my next plant is, I think this is a philodendron. Oh, okay, I can't actually remember what this one is. It was given to me in like a Wish Wednesday in one of our plant groups, and I asked for, not the Melanochrysum, I have that one and I'll show you guys. I just showed you the Glorious. I can't remember the name of this one. It's the one that looks a lot like the Glorious, but it's not the Glorious, apparently, but I can't tell the difference, so I'm not actually sure what this is. It is putting out a new leaf, if you guys can tell. I'm excited about that. I just got this one on a moss pole recently, so she probably hasn't attached just yet, but there is a new leaf coming in, so I have high hopes that this spring and summer that she will grow really quickly, but she doesn't really need any care. I'll put the name of it, like I said, on the screen. I just literally cannot remember at this exact moment. I'm excited to see it grow so I can tell the difference between the other ones, because right now this looks a lot like the Glorious, but apparently it's not the Glorious, but we will see. I like it though. I like a nice velvety plant. We're gonna go ahead and stick her to the side as well. And we're gonna move right along to the next one, which is a philodendron gigas, which the gigas has been a really difficult one for me at this point. I have had a lot of trouble with it and she does not look in the best shape. This is actually the second gigas that I've had, and I'm gonna just pick off that dead leaf, and this leaf isn't looking very good either, but we're gonna leave it for now. She's kind of climbing the moss pole. This is the newest leaf that still hasn't changed colors to green yet, and as you can tell, some of the leaves do not look very good. I really, really want this plant to live and thrive for me, but it just isn't. But I am not giving up on it just yet. I'm hoping that this growing season is going to do wonders for it. So that's kind of the plan that I have for it, is just to see what happens. But she doesn't need any care at this time. It's not a pest thing. I've checked it for pest multiple times and I don't see any. It literally just doesn't like me. I really want the gigas to be a nice plant for me though, so we'll see. I know somebody that sells them locally often and they're really not that expensive, so maybe I'll just try a different one if this one doesn't work out, but this is like the biggest disappointment in my collection because I saw wild ferns the one time and I was like, I need that plant. The first one I had died and this one is not looking very good. And everybody made it seem like that plant was super easy and I'm just not having the best luck with it. So I don't know what's up with the gigas. All right, and the next plant that I have on a pole that also doesn't need too much care, but it does need a new strap, and there's a couple of leaves that I need to pull off here at the bottom that aren't doing great. But this is an El Choco Red, and it is giving me a new leaf, and it's gonna be a big one compared to the last one for sure. Look how big that leaf is looking. It looks a little stuck, so I might help it out a little bit before I strap it on, but this is the last leaf it gave me. And yeah, I got it when it was pretty small. It was just a couple of leaves, which have all died off, but yeah, she is climbing the pole nicely and sizing up. So I'm really pleased with how it's sizing up. There's actually a growth point at the bottom that's kind of activating, so that would be really cool if it set off another vine. So all I'm gonna do for this one is see if I can get that leaf to be unstuck so it doesn't ruin itself. All right, so I wasn't able to get it unstuck, and I have this thing where I ruin all my philodendron leaves because they tend to get stuck, like do that Cinderella slipper thing and they get stuck, and then the new growth pokes through the leaf and causes a hole, and then it looks terrible, and you'll see that when we get to my Melanochrysum that I need to deal with. But I don't want to cause any injury to this, so my cabinet is starting to get more humid as the season progresses. So I'm hoping it'll just sort itself out. All I'm going to do is take a little plant Velcro and Velcro the latest node onto the pole. That way it starts rooting into it, and that will probably help with the humidity issue at bay. So actually, let me lower where that is because I think that's a little high. I want to go ahead and stick it down here. That way new growth has the ability to come through. And oh no, this piece of plant Velcro is just a little too short, so we're gonna have to cut another one. I am so stingy when it comes to like my plant supplies. I legit just try to use as little as possible, and usually that bites me in the butt, but that was like an extra piece that I had laying around. Where are my scissors? There we go. Perfect. We are going to slide this down here. And I'm just trying to get those nodes against the pole because it was kind of leaning away from the pole, and I needed to figure out how to root into the pole. So no moss necessary at this time. I guess I could probably add a little bit more just to top it off, but I'm not going to. I really just want this leaf to figure itself out. I've encouraged it to come out, so hopefully it understands what I was trying to do and does it for me. But I don't think it needs any water. It also is good in the pot, so I'm gonna stick that back to the side. And there's not a lot of maintenance. I'm loving that right now. I'm gonna actually move you guys a little closer since I don't have any huge plants anymore. So let's go ahead and go to, this is probably one of my newer moss poles. I just got this guy on the moss pole. When I got it, it was not on a moss pole and it was growing kind of crazy, so it doesn't look amazing. And it's really working on the first leaf since I put it on a moss pole. So it hasn't, oh, there's actually 2 leaves because there's 2 cuttings in here. But this is the philodendron compost. I'll put it on the screen because I don't really know how to say the whole word. It's kind of long. But it's another velvety leaf one. And right now the leaves are kind of small. But as you can see, there is a growth there. And then it's putting on a new leaf down there as well. So 2 new leaves. There's 2 vines in here. And I think everything feels, yeah, everything is still good and moist. This one is getting really close to the top. So I am going to add just a little bit more moss to this pole. It's pretty much already filled all the way up with moss, but I have a little bit more room to play with. I might as well do it since I have it out and I don't want to have to worry about it whenever I get into a new routine. So we're just gonna fill it up the rest of the way. Okay, so I filled it up the rest of the way with moss. I leave a little bit so when I do my extension, it definitely doesn't need any more plant Velcro. So we are done with the Compostiana philodendron thing. Yeah, that one's going over here as well. And next up, we have this honkin' philodendron Jose Bueno. Mine isn't the most variegated one in the world. And honestly, I don't remember how long I've had it, but it is sizing up quickly. It's working on a new leaf. And these internodal spacings are really close together as well. So it probably doesn't necessarily need a pole, but it's not hating the pole. It definitely is growing really well with the pole. So I'm just gonna leave it on there for now. I don't really think it needs any more moss. As you can see, the moss is very green and is growing lots of algae and things, but it seems happy. So we're just gonna leave it. And I am just gonna add a little plant Velcro because it's kind of coming away from the plant or from the pole, and it's gonna need a little bit more. But yeah, mine isn't super variegated. It's more like splashy, but the leaves are huge and I really like it. This is one that once it reaches the top of the moss pole and I have to extend it, I'm probably going to move it out of the cabinet and not put it in a cabinet just because it seems like it's a pretty hardy philodendron and I don't really think it needs the cabinet, and the leaves are kind of getting smushed. So like this leaf is all smushed and crinkled up. So I don't think it needs a cabinet. I'm gonna leave it in there until it grows out of this pole and I have to extend it, and then I'll put it in a different location. But as for now, it is going to go back in the cabinet and live the rest of its days there until she is too big. So we're gonna just attach another location of this guy to the pole here. Just want to encourage it to root into the pole because that's literally the whole point of the pole. And that way, if I ever want to chop it, it already has good roots. That's another thing I like about poles is they're rooted when you chop them. So there's a lot of times I've chopped up my poles and I've literally potted up those cuttings and was able to sell them right away. So there she is. She's strapped back in and she is getting so big. I'm so excited. She's on one of those really thick ones because she needed it. I'm gonna stick her over there for now. And I just have 2 more plants. One of them is going to need a little bit of TLC, or not TLC, but a little bit more moss. But this next guy is definitely not even like close to climbing up the pole yet. This is my philodendron Florida Beauty. Okay, I keep running out of storage because I'm working on editing a really huge video and I have all the footage on my phone because I do everything on my phone. Beside the point, Florida Beauty, she's gorgeous, she's stunning. She really isn't climbing into the pole yet. Like the internodal spacing is pretty tight on this one. This one had some water sitting on the leaf, so it looks a little bit damaged. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut off that damaged part finally. I have been putting it off But other than this leaf, she is literally stunning. I got her as a 1 or 2 leaf cutting from somebody locally at a really wonderful price, and I just couldn't pass it up. I didn't know that I needed one, but I definitely did. So I'm just cutting off all this damaged on this leaf to hopefully stop it from happening. But other than that one leaf, she is so gorgeous. She definitely doesn't need any moss in her pole, because if you can tell, she's barely even like climbing the pole at this point. I don't even need to put plant Velcro on her, but she, hopefully is going to put out a new leaf soon. She definitely has the growth point, and I do know it's getting bigger because I could barely see it when I looked last, but she is just stunning. I love her so much. This is definitely one of my favorite plants in the cabinet at this time. I'm going to stick her to the side because I don't have anything else to say or do for her, and bring up my next plant that's going to need a little bit of moss. She's definitely going to need an extension at some point. I don't think that point is going to be today. Maybe that point should be today, but I can't put her back in the cabinet if I do. I think I'm just going to put a little bit of moss in her, and then I'll have to extend her in a couple of weeks probably, or yeah, when she puts out her next leaf. But this is one of my favorite plants at the moment because she's just growing so well and beautiful and sizing up perfectly. This is my Philodendron Majestic, and this is the last leaf she put out, and this is the leaf that she just unfurled, so she's still really fresh and new. I'm not going to touch her too much, but as you can tell, she's at the top of the pole. Like, the leaves started so tiny and small, and she's just sizing up so much with the pole. I love her. I get all my plants locally from pretty much the same grower because we have the same taste in plants. So this one came locally, and it was a really, really great price, probably $5 for the cutting. And she's already grown so much for me. I haven't even had her that long. She's just a really vicious grower. I'm loving this plant. It's just been so exciting to see how quickly she sized up. So really, I'm just going to put a little bit of extra moss in the pole. She really does need an extra pole extension, but that day is not today. I cannot be bothered. I'm already running out of steam, and I'm probably gonna have to film the rest of this video on a different day because my back is killing me. And I have other things that I need to get done today, such as shaving my dog and preparing for tomorrow with laundry and meal prep and all of that, because I am trying to go on a cut. I've built a lot of muscle over the last few months and I want to show those muscles, so I'm going to try to go on a little cut and cut about 10 to 15 pounds of fat in the next 3 months is my goal, and just so I can see the definition a little bit better on the muscles. Sorry to flex on you guys like that, but I'm just really proud of how far I've come in my fitness journey, and where I was 2 years ago it's been a significant change for me. So I'm really just excited about that journey as well. I don't know what I'm doing still most of the time, but I show up every day and I do the damn thing, and I'm proud of that. And now I just need to get the health part in check with the food consumption and that. So I'm gonna be doing some meal prep as I get onto this new job and I try to get into a better routine again, because I've been out of a routine for about 2 months almost. Not quite 2 months, a month and a half. But there we go. This is the Philodendron Majestic. If you guys don't have this one, I really recommend getting a Philodendron Majestic if you see it. She's really just a gorgeous plant. She really reminds me of my Philodendron Brandy Affinity. I chopped that one up and I'm rooting the cuttings, and I'm gonna regrow it because I really like that plant, but it gives the same vibe. I almost feel like it's a brandy mixed with this Majestic or whatever the Majestic's mixed with, because they look really similar. I'll put some footage on the screen of it because I think you guys should see it. Before I ran out of storage again, which is another reason I'm probably gonna have to film this rest of this video on a different day, I chopped up that pole, so I don't have any more to show you, but I'll put some footage on the screen so you can see it. But they give me the same vibe, but I really like that plant too, so I'll probably keep both. Those leaves don't get as big as what I'm assuming these ones are gonna get. But that is all that I have in my red stick cabinet in my bathroom. I have a couple on top of the cabinet, but like I said, I'm running out of storage on my phone, and so I need to wait until I finish editing the tutorial that's going up for you guys in a couple of days. And then once I can delete that, I will have plenty of footage to storage to film the rest of this video for you guys. So you will see Lori on a different day with the rest of my pulls and hopefully a little bit more motivation to do these chores. All right guys, I am back. I have finally finished my crochet video, which should be up on my channel now if you are a crocheter and want to make yourself a little strawberry bag. My last video is that, and I was able to make some room on my phone, and we are back in my kitchen to show you the rest of my moss pulls with my little pup. So I have my moss that's been sitting in this tub. I'm going to go ahead and start rehydrating it. Sorry if you hear any noise. Sorry about my hair. It has been raining here nonstop for the past like 3 days, 4 days. Flooding is terrible. If anybody is dealing with this, like the severe weather we've been having and all the rain, I hope that you're doing well. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but since I started filming this video, we've gotten more severe weather and some flooding, some severe flooding. So it's only gonna get worse for the next few weeks. So I'm hoping that you all are staying safe and you're still trying to find some joy and things right now. But we're gonna get back into talking about some moss pulls. I am, like I said, rehydrating my moss over here because it's probably been about a week and a half since I filmed the last part of this video. So I think that's probably good. It wasn't too dry, so it's like soaking up the water a lot better. But this is all the moss I have left, so hopefully it finishes out my pulls that I need to fill out with moss. Let's go ahead and get back into it. This next plant is a big one, but she has a little bit of some stuff going on. So this is the Amedrium Medium Silver Spider-Man is what it was sold to me as. This was the newest leaf it put out. It has been out for a while. As you can see, these other leaves are not doing amazing. And I had this plant living in my cabinet for the longest time, but as you can tell, it's fairly large and it was taking up a lot of space. So I removed it and put it on top of my cabinet in the bathroom. And since I did that, this leaf hasn't browned yet. So I'm hoping the problem was just like air circulation. I know Wild Fern had the same problem with her Amedrium Medium, and I don't know. I'm hoping that the next leaf that it's gonna put out, because it is working on another leaf here, I'm really hoping that it doesn't brown off. Like I said, this one is still doing good. I really like this plant. It's really cool. It's beautiful. And yeah, I'm hoping that the main issue with it was that it was in the cabinet and it wasn't getting enough airflow. So I am just gonna top this one off with a little bit more water since it's not in my plant cabinet. Sorry, you can't see my face really. But since it's not in my plant cabinet, it tends to dry out much quicker, if you could imagine. It is still in my bathroom, which holds a lot more humidity than the rest of my house. So that's a benefit. I'm kind of thinking that once poles start growing out of my cabinet, I want to put them on top of my bathroom cabinet opposed to anywhere else in the house. I do have one other plant that you guys will see that isn't in my bathroom that's on a moss pole, and it's also not in a cabinet. But other than that one, I don't have any that aren't in cabinets or in my bathroom. So I'm thinking that's the plan. I'll clean off the top of my cabinet and then I'll just leave it for moss poles. I am gonna put a little bit more moss into this pole. It doesn't necessarily need it, but these leaves, as you can see, get huge. So yeah, the internal spacing isn't huge on them, but there is still a decent amount of space. And I just wanna make sure that I'm prepared for when it grows, because who knows whenever I'll actually try to fill it up again. And since we're already here, might as well. Like I said, I do really enjoy this plant. It is a bummer that these leaves start to brown, but as I've taken it out of the cabinet, that really has cut back. I'm not sure what it was, if it's like, it hasn't spread to anything else. And while it was living in the cabinet, it definitely 100% had the brown leaves touching other things. I know it's not from pests. I've searched it up and down for pests. And you guys might think it's fungal. I thought it was fungal as well, but it didn't spread to anything else in the cabinet at all. And it still hasn't at this point. So I don't know. I'm really uncertain of what's going on with it, but I'm hoping that this leaf stays beautiful. And yeah, so that's my Amedrium Medium. The only other moss pole that I have living in my bathroom at this time is my Philodendron 69686. This was a freebie that somebody gave me because they struggled with it. And honestly, I threw it in a prop box as soon as they gave it to me. It did amazing. I took it out of the prop box to pot it up and it lost a lot of leaves. And so it's been kind of a difficult one for me as well. It hasn't really sized up too much, as you guys can see, but it is working on putting out this new leaf. I think it's a cute plant. I have it just because, like I said, it was a freebie and like I want to try to save it and grow it because it is a really cute plant. I like the lobes that it gets. And one thing that I noticed about it the other day is at the petiole where the leaf meets the petiole, it has like a little red line, and I think that that's cool. So yeah, as you can see, definitely needs a little bit more moss. So I am going to fill her up some today. And I probably should have watered a little bit more the moss that's already in there, but some of the water that's in the moss I'm putting in there should soak down. Again, this one is not in the cabinet, so it does dry out a little bit more. Since the weather is heating up, my bathroom gets much more humid, which is awesome. My plant cabinet in there does amazing. Like this morning I woke up, it was 80% humidity. All those leaves that are like coming out are unfurling, and it's so happy. I'm so glad to see everything unfurling in there and growing. It's gonna be a great growing season. I can already feel it. But the ones that are like on top of the cabinet, they do still grow decently fast. They just don't grow as fast because they're not in a closed environment. But since it is the bathroom, it does get that like peak humidity from whenever I take a shower, or you know, there's just moisture in there from the toilet and things like that. So yeah, I just went ahead and put a little bit more in there. These internodal spacings are quite close, so I think that should be enough. I actually don't really think it needs watered either. So those are the last two plants that are in my bathroom. The next place that we are gonna go is into my bedroom, into my Redsta Tall cabinet. It is a smaller cabinet, but I have a lot of moss pools in there. So I'm gonna go grab those and we'll come back and I'll show you what plants I have in there. Okay, I actually decided that I would grab my Red Anderson. This is the only other plant that I don't have in a plant cabinet. It lives in my bedroom under my Soltech Solutions light. And I got rid of my Pink Princess and I replaced it with this one because this was a freebie that somebody I buy from threw in. And I was like, okay, well, I don't need all of the Pink Princess and everything. And that one was like questionable on if I still enjoyed it. So I decided to keep the Red Anderson. It's a lot like the Pink Princess. It is a pain in the ass. And yeah, this is the newest leaf it's putting out. It's really beautiful, but it does the same thing Pink Princesses do. So with these plants, I learned you really have to keep them watered. I did not have my Pink Princess on a moss pole. I had it on a cocoa core pole. So I'm hoping that the Red Anderson does better. It really hasn't done much for me since I put it on the cocoa core pole. I just had it in my cabinet in my kitchen and that was it. Like I wasn't on a pole or anything, and then it got big enough and I was like, all right, you're going on a pole, honey. So here she is. It's really hard to see her, but she's got some nice leaves. She adapted really nicely to coming out of the cabinet. I am gonna put a little bit more moss in there just while I have her in here. She is going to hopefully grow soon. The last leaf was one that got stuck and didn't make it. And then she just put out this other leaf, which is a gorgeous leaf. It's a little damaged because she, like I said, was going through things. So this is the only other plant I don't have in a cabinet. She would probably benefit really nicely from being in the cabinet. So maybe I will switch her into the cabinet for one of the ones that doesn't really need to be in there, that I'll probably show you in the next one. So she might end up in a cabinet again. I think it could benefit her, but ultimately she is not in the cabinet right now. She's cute. I like her. This leaf is gorgeous. The new leaf is really stunning. I think you really can't get an idea of the Red Anderson unless you see it in person because there's so much dimension to the colors of the leaves, like so many shades of green and pinks, and I really do enjoy it. She is getting some nice variegation now. I feel like when you have like little plants like this, like when I got her, she wasn't super variegated, but as she's grown, she's gotten more variegated, and the same thing happened with my Pink Princess. So just something to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be the most beautiful plant right when you get it because they do have potential. So I'm excited to grow her. I did like my Pink Princess for a really long time. I just didn't think I needed both of them, and I was kind of over that one because I had to chop it up because it had pests and things like that. So I'm really excited to just start over with a different plant. And yeah, so this is my Red Anderson. She's not living in a cabinet, but we're gonna go to our cabinet and get those. I currently have 5 plants living in my Redsta Tall cabinet. If you guys are familiar with those cabinets, they are a little bit smaller. I do have a video on my channel setting it up. I used to have 6 living in there. I did have a little bit of a thrips outbreak in that cabinet, but I think we're good now, and hopefully everything is happy. All of these are going to need to be watered. I tend to like neglect that one a little bit on the watering of the moss poles, but yeah, that cabinet does not stay as humid as my Redsta Wide does, because, I mean, it's not weather stripped and it's in my bedroom, so it's not like holding humidity as well as my bathroom does. I did try to weather strip the cabinet. I didn't know what I was doing, obviously, because all the weather stripping fell down. So I just didn't maybe use the right weather stripping. I don't know, but it's not weather stripped. None of my cabinets are weather stripped because I don't know what I'm doing. But there's that. Let's get back into the plants. These do need the most care out of all of them. One of them definitely needs an extension. I need to figure out what I want to do with the other one that definitely needs an extension, but because I don't know if they'll be able to stay in the cabinet. They should, because I have a half shelf in there. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So this is a Scindapsus rubicon. It has been an incredibly slow grower for me, but I do believe it's working on a new growth point down there. And it's not really attaching to the moss pole yet. I find that the Scindapsus take a little bit of training to attach themselves to the moss pole. So I actually might finally cut off this leaf down here. This one had a bit of a rough start. So like I said, it hasn't grown much for me. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut off the damaged part actually, because the leaf is still bringing some energy to the plant. So I just cut off the damaged part. And really, she doesn't need much. I think I put my plant Velcro away, which what was I thinking? So that's a problem. I actually might just take some plant Velcro off of one of these other ones that probably doesn't need it and attach it to here. Or actually, I'm just gonna move up the plant Velcro that is already on the plant. So it had some plant Velcro down at the bottom. I'm actually gonna move it up a little bit to try to train it to go onto the pole. Like I said, Scindapsus kind of tend to have a difficult time with the moss pole, I found, at least starting, because from what I've experienced in my regular home without having the plants on a moss pole is they actually tend to shingle a little bit. So they don't really want to grow up a pole unless they can shingle. So I've had kind of a difficult time, but I know a lot of people grow them on moss poles, so I want to keep trying. But this is a Scindapsus rubicon. It's kind of like a Tycon of the Scindapsus world. It just has some speckling on there. You can get some bigger sectorial variegation. I have had that in the past on this plant, but I've lost a few leaves since I've had it. And like I said, it's been an incredibly slow grower. I will say about Scindapsus that I've learned though, I've really gotten into them recently because one of our local ladies here sells a lot of the more rare Scindapsus and I've pretty much bought all of them up. I really do enjoy them. But what I've learned is that they are kind of, thrips didn't seem to like them. I had my thrips outbreak and the thrips actually didn't get on any of my Scindapsus somehow, even though in this cabinet that I just pulled these plants from, I had a thrip outbreak and they avoided my Scindapsus and I have multiple Scindapsus in there. So that was pretty impressive. I'm really happy about that because that was a pain in my butt. So I'm glad that that outbreak is pretty much over. I do still find a thrip here or there that I immediately treat and isolate so I don't get that issue again, but she's looking a lot better. I just gave her a little bit of water. I moved up the Velcro and hopefully she will start climbing and get a little happier. But I don't really care if they take too long to grow because they're so beautiful that it's fine. And I don't really have a place to put huge plants anyways. As long as I can tell that they're growing and they're happy, I am a-okay with that. So the next plant I have is an Epiprimnium albo. And honestly, this one might need a repot, but that day is not today. I think I might go ahead and extend the pole with you guys though, because as you can tell, she's pretty close to the top. The next leaf will probably put her over the top, so I might as well. This is the newest leaf she put out. This one's been a really slow grower, but she has beautiful variegation, so I am totally okay with it. This is such a gorgeous plant. I am really happy. It's rooted into the pole incredibly easy. As you can tell, I haven't added any Velcro since this one, so yeah, that's kind of why I want to go ahead and just make a pole today. I think I have some of the small ones. Yes, I do still have some of my old small ones. So I guess I'll show you guys how I make my poles. So these are the old poles that I got from the seller. She doesn't make these ones anymore, unfortunately. So all you have to do is there's these seams on there. I just fold it down the seam. And this is what makes the new one so difficult. You can't do this. You can't fold it down the seam. There is a seam, but the plastic is really thick and the seam is really close to like a point that it's impossible to bend it. And so you never get like a nice bend like this. So I go ahead and do that. And then I just, since these ones only have one size, I just go ahead and I close it up. And I miss these poles so much. I'm so sad that she changed her pole design, and I haven't checked in like 6 months, so maybe she got complaints from other people and changed them back. I don't know, but I doubt it. So I'm gonna have to just find new poles. Personally, I like the black poles, so I don't get a lot of algae on my poles because they're not exposed to the light. And I know a lot of people like the clear poles because, you know, you can see the roots or whatnot through them. But personally, for me, I don't really care. I can tell if they're like attached to the pole or not based on, you know, if they come off of the pole. So you can generally see if they're rooting, and I don't need to see the roots full on to be satisfied. So I like the black poles for aesthetic purposes because that's more important to me at this point. So let's see. Moss poles are kind of a pain in the ass to close. The back closing ones like these, regardless of the ones you get. I really do want to try the front closing ones next, but since all my plants are on these poles currently, this is where we're at. All right, so when you do your pole, you don't want to fill up too much at the top. And on these poles, she has like these little cutouts here. Like there's these little lines. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I'm gonna stick like the little foot through that just to make sure it's extra secure. So we will just stick it through here. I'm only gonna go down a little bit. There we go. So there's what it's looking like. I'm gonna stick it down so we can get this foot through. So you can see I have the little leg going through there, and that's what's gonna make it a little bit more secure. And I'll push it down the other side like that. So there we go. And that's what makes it secure. And that's why I really liked these moss poles. I can't do that with the new ones. It's so disappointing because these moss poles were marvelous. They were so good. So I don't know if this is gonna fit back in its exact spot in that cabinet, but it definitely will fit into the cabinet. I am gonna go ahead and fill up with some moss. This is all the moss I have left, and I'm trying to evaluate my choices. I think I'm gonna be fine. The other ones don't need moss, so I will just order some more. I need to anyways because the season is coming up for lots of extensions. So I'm gonna just shove all my moss down like I've been doing. I'm actually gonna give a little water before I get too deep into this because she definitely needs her moss watered. Good enough. I moved it over here so I could water it in my bin so I don't get water all over the floor because God knows the last thing I need is more water tracked into this house because this rain is doing enough of that. I don't really hear much about the Epiprimnium albo anymore, if I really ever did anyways. And I don't know why. It's such a gorgeous plant. The leaves are just long and sword-like, and the variegation on mine is just stunning. I know I've seen some that aren't as variegated as mine. I just got really lucky and I found a really cool specimen. I think I got like a 1 or 2 leaf cutting off of a Facebook purge from somebody I buy from kind of often for like $5. If you guys are in like a Facebook group for plants and you want to find some good plant deals, you really need to jump on your Facebook groups. Ours is like a local one. I think I talk about it a lot on here, but it's a more local, you know, for our community, as a lot of them are, and you just go and pick them up or meet with somebody and pick them up, or they drop them off, or whatever's easiest for everyone. And I get the best deals from there. Like I can get rare plants for an affordable price, which is amazing. Everybody in my community is so wonderful. So here is our new pole. She's a little bit taller. I'm excited that I actually got it extended. Go me. And the newest leaf. And like I said, she's a bit of a slower grower, so she won't outgrow this too quickly. But she's looking really nice. Let's set her to the side. She's probably gonna need an up pot soon, or at least a cash pot to keep her stable, because since I extended her, she can get a little bit wobbly. But moving right along to my next plant, this is my Monstera Adansonii mint variegated. So it's got a nice minty texture to the leaves. Stunning plant. It was affected by thrips, but as you can tell, it handled it really well. Like there's some yellow on this leaf right here, and luckily I was able to catch that rather quickly and it didn't get too crazy out there. But yeah, these were affected a little bit by thrips, but this one is still growing really strong. The newer leaves since I started treating the thrips have just exponentially taken off. They have gotten so much bigger. I don't think this one needs any moss in the pole. The internodal spacing on the Monstera Mint are pretty close. And this is actually the only Adansonia I have in my collection now. Actually, I have my tricolor, which was the 6th plant that was in this cabinet, but I cut it up because it went all white. So I finally just did it and I chopped it into a bunch of pieces to see what happens, and hopefully I get something back because I don't need an all white plant. But I really love how big this one has gotten. This is the newest leaf. It's gonna be a stunner. I love it. The internodal spacing is super close, so I don't need to put any moss in it at this time. I just gave her a little drink because she definitely needed that. Like I said, I tend to neglect the ones in my bedroom a little bit harder than the ones in my bathroom because honestly, the ones in my bedroom are in the corner of my room next to my bed, and it's a little hard to get over there, so I don't look at them as often. But actually, these plants, the ones that are in that cabinet, are some of my favorite plants in my collection, so I don't know why I do that. All right, next up was a plant that I wanted so badly for so long, and I finally got my hands on a really gorgeous cutting for like $25. It was a 1-leaf cutting, $25, and I'll show you the leaf right here. This was the leaf it came with, and if you can guess what it is from this, go you. But this was a strawberry shake, and I saw her mother plant, and it was a really nice mother plant. I'm gonna talk before I show you the whole thing and water her. It was a really nice mother plant, and so I just decided to go for it since it was a relatively cheap cutting, and even though it didn't have a lot of irrigation, I had hope and prayers that it would be a beautiful plant like hers. And I brought it home and it started growing and it was stunning, absolutely stunning. And then she got thrips and it took a lot of the leaves from me. But I think we are on the up and up now. The newest leaf was fine when it came out. It didn't have any signs of thrips. So that's where we're at. It hasn't put out a new leaf since then, but I'm hoping since it's growing season, she's gonna come back at it. But much like the Red Anderson I showed you, or the Pink Princess, she has a difficult time with putting out leaves. The leaves have not sized up a ton, and I think it's because she was dealing with thrip damage, but they certainly are just gorgeous leaves, all of them. I can't believe this is the one I got, and this is where we're at. Like, I am in love. She's lost a lot of leaves along the way. As you can tell, there's some bare nodes on here. Those were all leaves at one time. I should eventually cut her, but honestly, she still looks really nice and full. I'm not mad at it. I just want her to keep growing. These leaves do get stuck, so it is kind of important to, you know, keep her watered. I'm trying to see where the newest leaf is coming in. It could be any day now. It looks a little damaged in there, so we'll see what happens. Again, I'm trying to make sure I keep her treated for thrips, so I should probably give her another spray down, but I'm absolutely obsessed. She obviously doesn't need an extension or anything at this time. After the next leaf, maybe she will, but the internodal spacing on here isn't too long, so at that time I'll make that decision because I'm gonna need to do something with her eventually, and I don't know if I want to cut her up yet, so I'm not gonna extend or anything. But that's my strawberry shake, a plant I'm absolutely obsessed with. I want her so bad. One of my favorite plants in my collection. I love her. I could just stare at her. Okay. The next plant in that cabinet definitely needs an extension, or I need to cut it. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with it, but I don't actually know if today's gonna be that day because she's putting on a new leaf. And if I extend the pole, it's still gonna need another extension. This is gonna need like 2 extensions. Honestly, I might extend the pole, but I kind of want to put her on a bigger pole and cut her, but that could be another time. I was going to cut this plant for my friend as well and give her a cutting, so that still needs to be done. But let me show you guys. This is the Scindapsus Jade Aria. So it's the variegated Aria, and she's so pretty. Obviously, she's getting some damage on her variegated leaves, and I think that's just from lack of care, honestly. And this is a polaroid variegation, so these leaves are very variegated, but they haven't fully like burnt in yet. It hasn't fully burnt in that variegation, and she has been such a fast grower, so I haven't even been able to keep up with her. I'm gonna see if I have another moss pole in here. If I do, I'm gonna go ahead and extend it. Okay, I do. I don't know why I put this one on the tiniest moss pole I have, but I did. So that's where we're at. I am gonna go ahead and give her a little drink on this one, just so she can soak up some of the water from the moss I'm gonna put in. I'm gonna go ahead and fold this pole up. I'm gonna attach it. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and extend it. I wasn't gonna, but I think it's the right thing to do. And although it will probably still be a little taller than this, it's gonna give some support. It's hopefully going to encourage it to root. So before I cut it, hopefully it will be a little bit rooted on some of the spots because that's where I would cut it. I don't know if I'm gonna do like a full-on chop up and just like start it all the way over and then put a couple cuttings in a pot to grow up a moss pole. It's probably what I'll do. It's hard to say with me. I don't mind, like if I cut up a plant, I'm cutting up a plant. I just want it to be perfect in the way I want it. And sometimes if you just like cut it and then start it over, the new growth is like really tiny and not as appealing. So I might just chop it all the way up, but I just need a little more time to make that decision because it's such a beautiful plant and I really like it. I got this one at the same time as I got my Rubicon, if you can believe the one I just showed you that is very small still. I got them the same day. This one has taken off, the Scindapsus Aria. The Scindapsus Jade Aria has taken off, whereas the other one definitely has not taken off, as you guys saw. It's still very tiny. But it's okay, I'm not comparing them. They're both beautiful, loving plants and they make me happy in different ways. I'm really proud of myself for doing this because I really didn't want to, but this is going to take up the rest of my moss. So perfect. It's actually probably not even gonna be enough moss to fill this up. So maybe this was all pointless, but here we go anyways. Let's go ahead and start filling her up because I just need her to root a little bit more. I'm not even sure if she's like rooted into the pole at all. Like I said, Scindapsus have been kind of difficult for me to root into a pole, which is leading me to think that since they climb up my wall so well, like I have some climbing up my wall in my living room, leads me to believe that they might actually prefer like a wooden board and they don't necessarily need to live in my plant cabinet to do that. So that might also be something that I consider doing instead in the future, because I'm not opposed to it and I think that would look good if I did it correctly and chose the right kind of wood to be aesthetically pleasing. But wood is expensive, as you guys know, and with everything going on in the US, it's probably only gonna get worse, much like everything else. So I really have to make cautious decisions based around what the future looks like for the next couple of years. But yeah, this is definitely not even close to enough moss, so maybe this wasn't the move, but this is the last of the moss that I have, is this handful right here. So we'll see. It's not gonna fill up this pole by any means, but I think this was the right thing to do to hopefully encourage some rooting to happen and at least get it looking a little cleaner in my cabinet, because it has just been laying across all the other plants, which isn't ideal, especially if I had pests, because if they're all touching really easily like that, then they're definitely gonna spread. So let's go ahead and get this last bit of moss in there, and then I'll show you guys how little this affected anything. I don't even know if it was worth it at this point, but yeah, I am doing it anyways because we already started. Okay, so that's as much as the pole got filled up. I'm going to just take this string. Oh, it's not too bad, honestly. It did pretty well. So I'm just trying to take the root little knobs and push it against where the moss is to hopefully encourage it to grow. And like I said, I already put my Velcro up, but this plant has some Velcro on it and it does not need it. So I'm gonna steal it. So I'm going to stick this around here to give it some support. And then I'm gonna take this little thing that was down in the bottom because it doesn't need it down there anymore. And I'm going to stick it in here, like so. And the leaves are facing down because it's been growing, trailing instead of climbing. So they will adjust with time. I'm really glad I did it. I wish I had a little bit more moss. I actually do have more moss. I do have more moss. Okay, because this will actually be the perfect thing and then I can decide. I have more moss. Whenever I order my moss poles, she would send these free samples of New Zealand sphagnum moss, and it's really good. It doesn't look like a lot, but this expands a ton. So let me go ahead and get this cleaned up, get some water going, and then I will come back to you. Okay, so this is how much the sphagnum moss looks like it is, but this should be enough to finish the pole. So I'm just gonna pour some water on it and watch it expand. It's like those like towels that are like really small and then you pour water on them and they expand. It's growing so much. I'll show you guys. This is really, really good sphagnum moss. And she sends it with all the orders that I've bought from her so far. So I think it's just like a thing she does because she sells the sphagnum moss in her shop. And I think it's really a nice addition to the moss poles. It's really nice. to have that little sample to try out, especially for something like this. It's expanding so much, you guys. I'm just dumping and dumping water on it. It's soaking it all up. It is now. It's still hard in the center, which means it needs more water. So I'm gonna start breaking it up. Look how much that tiny brick turned into. It's a lot of moss, that tiny brick was. Wow. Okay, so that's gonna be plenty to finish off this pole, plus leave a little bit. And this is really nice long grain sphagnum moss. I really do like it. I don't know if I'd buy it because it's kind of expensive. And I think the Better Grow is just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this pole. Squeeze out some of that water. I do want some of the water to drip down into the pole, so I'm gonna leave a little bit of the moisture. Oh no, did I put my chopstick away? I was trying to clean up while I was getting my moss out and I put my chopstick away. How dare I? This is very different moss than the moss I was using. Just the texture of it is a little bit different. It's so interesting how there can be so many different kinds of moss. I am fascinated by it. I really love sphagnum moss. It's my favorite medium to like propagate in and root in. Like I use my moss bins. I'm really bad at perlite. So for me, I like my moss. And I actually probably could extend this one more time. I just don't know if it would fit in my plant cabinet. Should I try that? Should I try to extend it one more time? Oh, I found my chopstick. I did not put it away. I was not being good. I might try to extend this one more time because I do have another thing of this moss. I'm trying to decide if I should. Ooh, should I? Should I do it? I think it'll still fit in the cabinet. I would just have to put it on one specific side of the cabinet because I have a shelf in there, a half shelf, and I have one more moss pole in here that I could extend it with. You guys, will it be stable? I might have to put it in like a cash pot. Oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing right now? I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. I'm gonna do it. It's happening. As soon as this goes, it's done. I already got the thing through the slot. It's done, it's happening. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. I think this is the first, well, I have one other moss pole I'm gonna show you guys. I think this is the first one that I've extended this much by like a third one. It's definitely unstable and it's gonna need a heavier pot because right now it's currently just in a nursery pot. And honestly, I don't need to add any more moss right now, but I will. I think I will add more moss. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? It's definitely not stable. It wants to fall over. So that needs to be figured out ASAP. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is so crazy. It may not seem crazy to you guys, but like I haven't extended a pole this high and I was just gonna cut this plant, but I really don't wanna cut it because I have emotional attachments to my plants when they get big. I don't like to cut them. I really don't. I really hate cutting my plants unless I have to because I want them all to get big, but I know that's impractical for the reasons of how unstable this is, but I think I'm gonna love it. So here we are. Okay, so that's where we're at. Technically, it doesn't need any more moss, but it needs a little bit more moss. So if I'm going to do this and have this extension, I need to do it the right way and add a little bit more moss to it. I need to add one more Velcro down here. This is going to be crazy to water. I think I'm gonna have to do like the water cup with this one, just so I make sure it's getting watered all the way. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of the moss hydrated because I have one more sample bag of that New Zealand sphagnum moss. We're just rehydrating the moss. Can't believe I'm doing this. Really can't believe I'm doing this. This is insane. Hopefully it still fits in my cabinet. Seriously, I don't know. And so if it doesn't, I'm gonna have to find a place for it, and that's gonna be a whole nother thing, which honestly, I could switch it with my red Anderson, which is not in the cabinet, and put the red Anderson in the cabinet like we talked about. So this could work out better. I love when this happens. I love when I'm just sitting somewhere and then like it hits me like where I should put in a certain spot or whatever. Okay, so I am probably just gonna use the rest of the sphagnum moss because it's not a ton and I don't really wanna have to worry about storing it anywhere. So I'm just gonna fill up this moss pole so I don't have to do it later. I am so excited about this actually. So I'm just gonna have to go through my pots and find a cash po for it so it's stable. And it might even need a repot. I'm uncertain. There's no roots coming out of the bottom yet, but that doesn't really mean anything, as I've learned from other plants that I didn't think needed to repot it, and they definitely did. Okay, so here she is. The leaves, like I said, are facing down because she was like trailing, but all the light that she's gonna get is coming from above, so they will look more like the bottom eventually, but you can't even see her in frame really. I'm glad I did this. Like I said, I was gonna cut her for my friend, and I still will, but it's not the time. I'm gonna let her reach the top of this moss pole and then decide from there, because I'm really glad I did that actually. It's really tall and unstable. This one is also unstable and is going to need a little support somewhere. So I'm gonna go find some pots and then put these guys away because they're gonna need new homes. But before I do that, I have one more moss pole. I have my giant melanochrysum moss pole, which is in my cabinet in the kitchen. She does need assistance. However, as you guys saw, I am out of moss, so I can't assist with that. She needs an extension, but I really think I'm going to chop her all the way up and just start her over and see if I can get it to happen to be a better plant. I do have 2 cuttings in the pot, but honestly, I want at least 3 in there, I think, and she just needs to be started over. If you guys know anything about the philodendron melanochrysum, it's a really difficult plant to grow, and I've had a little success in the past, but I've kind of neglected it a little bit because it's just enormous and it needs a lot of care and attention, and I went through a period where I wasn't giving any of my plants that, so it definitely suffered a little bit, but I still really love the plant and I want to make it a beautiful plant eventually, so I am going to take the time to chop it all up, root some cuttings, and just start it all the way over and hope for the best. I have had luck growing melanochrysum from wet sticks, so I know at the very least it will grow again. I just know that it's going to take some growing pains from like the larger-ish leaves that I have to new growth being that same way. So yeah, that's my philodendron melanochrysum that you guys are seeing on the screen, or did see on the screen, and I do love her and I do want to keep that plant in my collection, but it just needs some TLC that I'm not going to give it today because I need to figure out how I want to go about taking care of that one. But those are all of my moss poles in my collection, and that was the maintenance that I needed to do with them, and I clearly need to go order some moss and some new moss poles now. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below on what your favorite plant that you saw today was, and subscribe to my channel for more random content. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.